Hello model railroaders. It's Dave, welcome back to the layout. Well, after getting the, I'm going to call it a mountain and end scale. Why not? It's my layout. In looking at the height that I have to achieve, and if I'm standing with the camera at eye level, I'm really not even looking at the plateau. I've got to kind of tiptoe up at my 5'6" height to actually see the plateau up there. So this is 9 inches right here. I've got, bring you back a little bit, 4 2-inch risers from Woodland Scenics, and then a 1-inch that tapers to 0. Yeah, 9 inches is not going to work out because you're not going to be able to see what the cars are doing once it's up on the top of the incline. So, and that means a lot to get up there. Now, let me move these out of the way. What I have here from my old layout, because I only had a very short amount of space to what I was using as a logging run previously, that's 4 inches to the top of the foam on that little section there, and a very aggressive incline because I didn't have the proper one to use at the time, and I needed to really ramp it up. So from track tip here to track tip here is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 74 inches. So that 4% rise in 74 inches gives me about a 5.5% gradient. And I know from experience that getting up that very aggressive slope there is just way too much for the end scale locomotive trying to push some cars up. So I know that has to be reworked. But as a 5.5%, that is kind of doable, starting there and then continuing it. If I go, say, up to 6 inches instead of 9 inches as far as the hill goes, which would make pulling out a couple of 1-inch sections of foam to make that really work, or as this whole front part is removable, making that disappear, getting rid of the getting rid of that section completely, dropping it, taking this beveled 1-inch layer off and this 1-inch layer off, and going up to this height here as the logging plateau, if you will, and then have it transition up to another level that will not see rail cars. That is a possibility. However, I really need to put together a test track and see really what that loco that I really want to use can do as far as a gradient goes. So I think that will be my next activity before I start getting out the saws to carve away or chunks, or actually I just start right over. I just get some more of the foam. I've got some out in the garage. I was lucky enough where we lived before that it was a new subdivision, and one of the contractors was cleaning up his site, and he had a whole bunch of pink foam, so we were asked and were told, yeah, it'll save me a trip to the dump. So I took all the big pieces that I could, and even gave some to my buddy Don, so he would have some bits that he could laminate together to use on his layout. And yeah, my big thing about doing the switchback, so I may try to work at least one in, because I think it'd be really neat to do that. But to have the switchback along the face of the quote mountain is getting to the turnouts, because I really don't want to be bearing servos or anything in the foam, and dealing with running the wires and through the foam, through the plywood top. That's giving me pause to go that route. I just don't want to invest the time and effort into that. But I like, at least from this side, holding the camera about eye level. It's not too bad. So I'm really thinking if the white foam here, if that's gradiented down a bit with a slope or a ridge line or something to give the more of a vertical height rather than a plateau type height. And then I really know very little about logging, apart what I've watched on the History Channel, the guys out there in Oregon. So I'd really have to research a little bit, because I know they've got some kind of drag lines and all kinds of other wonderful stuff that, if you're not watching what you're doing, can maim or kill you. However, I have no idea if anything like that is available in N scale, or if I'd have to scratch build it all. So, yeah, looking from this side, that 9-inch height is a little daunting to try and get a loco directly up onto the plateau up there. And then, yeah, it's just going to be too far up. So you have a plan, you look at it and go, yep, that's not going to work. And then fall back to plan B, whatever plan B may end up being. But anyway, the seam block looks fairly good, and as I had mentioned, this bit here will stay as a support, and I'll just put a piece of backer down on that and paint it blue as well. And then anything forward towards the camera from that back seam block will be bridges, and that's where I'm believing that I'm going to end up using the double truss bridge. Sorry, I don't know where I put it. The double truss bridge, and put together its mate there, and then see where I can utilize some of these other bridges elsewhere in the layout. Yeah, I'd like to get the logging run solidified. New Year's Eve, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to be pulling that up. I'm actually going to see if I can figure out how to time-lapse on the camera, and then I'll set it up and do a time-lapse of me yanking that, because I know you don't want to sit through 10 minutes of me undoing screws to pull everything apart to lift it out. So I'll see if I can do a time-lapse, if I can figure out the camera. But that's my plan, is to pull that and finish off the bus lines as my New Year's Eve. We're staying home, my wife and I. Neither of us like traveling on New Year's, and especially if it's going to be snowing, to add into the craziness. So she has her sewing hobby, I've got the model railroad, so we get a lot of enjoyment out of working on our hobbies, and we'll be in different sections of the basement, but within shouting distance of each other, I guess, for tea breaks and snack breaks and things like that. So we'll definitely have an enjoyable time. However, as the week works on, I think I'll try and sort out what my little engine that hopefully can do as far as getting up a gradient, and figure out what my slopes can end up being. Because I would really like, at least it's still playing in my head, as to start on the other side of the layout and then cross over here at about 2 inches of height. And then I've got this space running up the middle that I can stick over closer to the scene block to run a gradient up there, and then put another scene block on this side of whatever trackage I run. And that will get me up there, even if I have to do a switchback from, say, here and then bring it back around to curl around the face of whatever I do on this side. I'd still like to incorporate a switchback, and having it down this side of the layout, since there's really nothing that I can do on this side, and I've got a controller plug there, so it's got possibilities. As I make some decisions, I'll bring you guys along with me. So hopefully you've had a great holiday, those people that were lucky enough to get the whole week off work. Was back to work today, and Thursday and Friday as well, so not as much time on the layout as I would like. However, you need to do what you need to do to make money to spend on your hobby. So we'll see you hopefully in the next video, that I will try and get one more out before the 31st. Bye for now.